There comes a time in every life when the weight of pain feels almost too much to bear. It might come through the loss of a loved one, a broken relationship, a betrayal you never expected, or a sickness that shakes your faith. And in those moments, the question rises in our hearts, why? Why would a loving God allow me to walk through this? My friend, the pain you feel today is not the sign of His absence. It is often the very evidence of His loving hand at work in your life. Pain is a tool, not a punishment. God does not send pain to crush you, but to mold you. He is the master potter, shaping the clay, pressing it, refining it, and though the process may hurt, it is producing something beautiful. You are being formed into the person He designed you to be. If gold must go through fire to shine, if a seed must be buried in darkness to grow, then surely our pain can have a divine purpose. Sometimes pain is the only language strong enough to get our attention. When life is smooth, we often grow comfortable, self-sufficient, and forget that every breath we breathe comes from Him. But pain wakes us up. It reminds us that we are not in control. It calls us back to the one who can heal us. And when we come to Him with tears streaming down our face, when we whisper prayers in the midnight hour, we discover something amazing, that He was near all along. God does not waste a single tear. Every moment of pain you have ever faced is seen and known by Him. Scripture tells us that He collects our tears in a bottle. That means not one moment of your suffering is meaningless. The trial you are walking through today may be the very thing that becomes your testimony tomorrow. The hurt that feels unbearable now may become the story that encourages someone else to hold on when they feel like giving up. Think of the cross. There has never been a greater symbol of pain and suffering than the cross of Christ. Yet, from that very place of agony came redemption for the entire world. What looked like the darkest defeat was the greatest victory. If God can take the worst pain in history and turn it into the hope of salvation, then He can surely take your pain and use it for good. I know it can be hard to believe that in the moment. When the pain is fresh and the wound is deep, it feels impossible to see any good in it. But faith is trusting even when you cannot see. Faith is saying, Lord, I don't understand this, but I trust You. I believe that You are working all things together for my good. And if you hold on to that faith, if you refuse to let go, you will see His hand guiding you through. Sometimes we think God is far away when we suffer, but the truth is He is closest in our pain. He is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. You may feel abandoned, but He has not left you. You may feel weak, but He promises to be your strength. And in your weakness, His power is made perfect. So if you are hurting today, do not let pain push you away from God. Let it pull you closer. Bring your tears, your questions, and even your anger to Him. He is not afraid of your emotions. He is the Father who loves you, who longs to comfort you, and who is working behind the scenes even when you cannot see it. Your pain is not the end of your story. It is the shaping ground where faith is born, where character is forged, where hope is renewed. One day you will look back on this season and realize that what you thought would destroy you actually prepared you for greater things. You will see that the pain was a tool, not a punishment, and you will be able to say with confidence it was worth it. There are moments in life when pain strikes so deeply that it feels like the very ground beneath your feet has given way. You may have felt it in the loss of a loved one, the betrayal of a friend, the collapse of a dream, or the weight of loneliness that seems to press in on you when no one else is watching. In those moments, it is natural to ask God, why? Why would You allow this? Why must I walk through this valley? My friend, pain is never without purpose. What feels like the breaking of your heart is often the making of your faith. When everything is stripped away, when all the supports you used to lean on are gone, that is when you discover that God is still there, closer than your breath. Sometimes it takes pain to wake us up, to call us back to the one we have neglected, to remind us that He is our only true source of hope and strength. Pain is often the place where we meet God most intimately. It is where we cry out, not with polished prayers or perfect words, but with raw honesty, "Lord, I can't carry this anymore. I need you." And in that moment, something beautiful happens. The God who promised never to leave you comes rushing to your side. He does not always remove the pain immediately, but He gives you the strength to endure it, the peace to walk through it, and the hope that it will not last forever. When life is comfortable, we are tempted to forget our need for God. We may rely on our own strength, our own plans, our own wisdom, but suffering has a way of breaking down that illusion. It shows us how small we really are and how desperately we need the one who holds the universe together. Trials have a way of purifying our hearts, removing pride and softening us so we can hear God's voice again. Even when you do not understand, you can trust that God is at work. The tears you cry are seen. The prayers you whisper in the night are heard. He is not distant from your pain. He is near to the broken-hearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. You may not see the full picture yet, but one day you will look back and realize that what the enemy meant for harm, God used for good. Your pain can become the very platform from which God shows His power. Think of the stories we hold dear. The people who inspire us are rarely those who lived lives of ease. They are the ones who walked through the fire and came out stronger. They are the ones who faced trials and still kept their faith. They are the ones who can now tell us, "I have been there. I have felt the darkness, and I can testify that God carried me through." Your pain can also become someone else's hope. When you endure suffering with faith, your story may be exactly what another person needs to hear to keep going. Your testimony can light the way for someone else who feels lost. You may never know, this side of eternity, how many lives will be touched because you chose to trust God in the middle of your trial. Do not give up. Do not let pain convince you that God has abandoned you. He is not finished with your story. The cross itself was the greatest picture of pain and suffering, yet out of it came the greatest victory in history. If God could bring redemption to the world through something as dark as Calvary, He can bring redemption to your situation too. So take heart. What you are facing now is not permanent. The God who brought you this far will not leave you here. Pain may be part of your journey, but it is not your destination. There is hope on the other side of this valley. There is healing on the other side of these tears. And there is a deeper, stronger faith waiting for you as you draw nearer to the one who loves you beyond measure. There are moments when life presses so hard that it feels like the very breath is being squeezed out of you. You've cried until there are no more tears to cry. You've prayed until the words seem empty. You've wondered in the quiet of the night, why me, why this pain? And in that silence it can feel as if heaven itself is closed. But let me assure you today, every tear you have shed has a purpose. Not one drop is wasted in the eyes of God. Pain is not an accident. It is not meaningless. The one who formed you knows every detail of your life, and He would not allow anything unless He intended to bring something out of it. Sometimes pain is the very thing that opens our eyes to what we could not see before. When life is easy, we can become complacent, trusting in ourselves, thinking we have everything under control. But when pain comes, it strips away the illusion of self-sufficiency and drives us back to the one who is our true source. Think of a sculptor chiseling away at a block of stone. Every strike of the hammer seems violent, yet each one is precise, intentional, shaping that stone into a masterpiece. That's what pain often does in our lives. It feels like you are being broken, but in truth, you are being formed into something more beautiful, more resilient, more like the person you were created to be. Even Jesus wept. The shortest verse in the Bible reminds us of this simple but profound truth. If the Son of God shed tears, then your tears are not a sign of weakness, they are a sign that you are human and God understands them. The Psalms tell us that he collects every tear in a bottle, a poetic way of saying that he notices every moment of your pain and holds it close to his heart. Some of the most powerful people you will ever meet are not those who have avoided pain, but those who have endured it and found God in the midst of it. They speak with authority because they have walked through the fire and discovered that God was with them every step of the way. Your tears today may become someone else's encouragement tomorrow. Your testimony may give hope to a heart that feels like giving up. I know it can be hard to see purpose when you are in the middle of the storm. The nights feel long, the waiting seems endless, and the silence feels unbearable. But even when you can't see it, God is working behind the scenes. He is aligning things, strengthening you, preparing doors you cannot yet see. What feels like a delay is often divine timing. What feels like loss may actually be protection. If you could see what God sees, you would understand that this pain is not the end of your story, it is the chapter that leads to a new beginning. The cross itself was a picture of unbearable pain, of blood and tears and suffering. Yet from that moment came the greatest victory in history. If God can take something as cruel as the cross and turn it into salvation for the whole world, he can take your pain and turn it into purpose. So do not let the enemy convince you that your suffering is meaningless. Do not believe the lie that says God has abandoned you. He is closer than you think, nearer than your next breath, holding you even when you feel like you are falling apart. You may not understand now, but one day you will look back and see that every tear was a seed that produced something greater: compassion, wisdom, strength, faith. Lift your head. Wipe your tears if you can, but know that even the tears you cannot stop are seen by the one who loves you most. There is purpose in this pain. There is hope on the other side of this valley. And when the morning finally comes, when the tears are turned into joy, you will be able to say, "It was worth it. God was with me all along." There are moments in life when we are struck by pain so deep that it feels impossible to breathe. Our hearts cry out, "Lord, why? Why is this happening to me? Why am I facing this storm? Why does the road ahead feel so heavy and lonely?" In those moments, it is tempting to believe that pain is evidence of God's absence, but the truth is, pain is often the evidence of His presence. God does not allow suffering to harm us, but to shape us. Just as fire refines gold and pressure forms diamonds, suffering refines our faith and produces something eternal within us. Faith that is never tested will remain weak, but faith that has walked through the fire becomes unshakable. The pain you feel today is not a sign of abandonment. It is an invitation to trust Him more deeply. In times of ease, we often grow comfortable. We rely on our own strength, our own plans, and our own wisdom. But when trials strike, when sickness comes, when dreams collapse, when relationships are broken, we are reminded that we cannot stand on our own. Pain has a way of clearing away illusions and bringing us face to face with our true dependence on God. It bends our knees, softens our hearts, and leads us back to the only one who can truly carry us through. Every tear you cry is noticed by the one who formed you. Every sleepless night, every whispered prayer, every question that lingers in your heart is seen and heard by the Father. The psalmist reminds us that He is near to the brokenhearted. He does not stand far away from your suffering. He steps into it with you. He walks with you through the valley, and even when you cannot feel Him, He is there. Consider how many of the most powerful testimonies you have heard come from those who have faced great pain. They speak not from theory but from experience, declaring that God was faithful even in their darkest hours. Their words carry weight because they have been tested. In the same way, your suffering today may one day become the very story that inspires hope in someone else. Your pain can become the platform from which you declare God's goodness and faithfulness to a hurting world. When you cannot trace God's hand, trust His heart. You may not understand why this season is so heavy, but you can believe that He is working all things together for your good. What feels like loss may become the doorway to something greater. What feels like the end may actually be the beginning of a new chapter in your life. Remember, the greatest example of this truth is found at the cross. On that hill, pain and suffering seemed to win. The sky grew dark, the earth trembled, and the Son of God breathed his last breath. To the world it looked like defeat. But 3 days later, the stone was rolled away, and death was conquered forever. From the deepest pain came the greatest victory. If God could bring eternal life out of the cross, he can bring purpose out of your pain. This is why we must not lose hope. Even in the tears, even in the questions, even in the silence, trust that God is still writing your story. Your faith may feel weak, but he promises that even faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains. He will not waste what you are going through. One day you will look back and see that this season built a faith in you that could not have been formed any other way. So hold on, do not give up. Keep praying even when it feels like nothing is changing. Keep believing even when the night feels long. Your suffering is producing something far greater than you can see right now. It is producing endurance, character, and a faith that will anchor you for the rest of your life. Pain is not the end of your story. There is joy coming on the other side of this. There is healing, restoration, and victory waiting for you. And when the breakthrough comes, your faith will be stronger, your testimony will be louder, and your heart will know with certainty that God was with you every step of the way. There are moments in life when pain feels like it has taken over everything. It shows up uninvited through heartbreak, sickness, loss, or disappointment, and it leaves us asking, "Why, Lord, why me?" Pain has a way of shaking us, of breaking the illusions we build about control and certainty. But what if the very pain you are experiencing is not meant to destroy you, but to transform you? What if it is the tool God is using to shape your life for something far greater than you can see right now? Pain is not the end of the story. In fact, many times, pain is the very beginning of a new chapter that God is writing. It may look dark right now, but darkness is where God does some of his greatest work. Just as a seed must be buried in the ground before it can grow into a tree, sometimes you must walk through seasons of sorrow before you see the beauty that is waiting on the other side. God never promised that we would live without trouble. Life has valleys as well as mountaintops, but he did promise that we would never walk through those valleys alone. Your tears are not ignored. Your prayers are not unheard. When your heart is breaking, he is closer than you think. He is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Every cry, every sleepless night, every moment of grief is seen by the one who loves you most. Sometimes pain is God's way of getting our attention. In seasons of comfort, we may become distracted, living as though we don't need him. But pain has a way of pulling us back to the one who is our true source of strength. When we have nowhere else to turn, we turn to him. And when we turn to him, we find peace that the world cannot offer, strength we did not know we had, and hope that defies the darkness. Think about the cross for a moment. The cross was the most brutal and painful form of death. From the outside, it looked like defeat. It looked like all hope was gone. But God turned the cross into the greatest symbol of hope the world has ever known. Out of the pain came redemption. Out of the suffering came salvation. If God could turn the darkest day in history into the greatest victory, he can turn your pain into something good as well. Some of the strongest, most compassionate people you will ever meet are those who have gone through deep pain and allowed God to heal them. They speak with a wisdom and a tenderness that could only come from walking through the fire and coming out refined. Your pain can become your testimony. The very thing that once hurt you can become the story that inspires someone else to hold on and believe that their breakthrough is coming too. When you cannot see what God is doing, Trust that He is working behind the scenes. What feels like a delay is often preparation. What feels like rejection may be His protection. What feels like loss may actually be the clearing away of what was never meant to stay, so that He can give you something better. Do not give up in the middle of your pain. Do not let the enemy convince you that this is the end. What you are going through right now can be the very thing that leads you to your greatest season of growth. God has not abandoned you. He is still in control, and His plans for you are still good. So lift your head even through the tears. Keep praying even when it hurts. Keep believing even when you do not see the answer yet. Because the same God who turned the cross into hope will turn your pain into a testimony. There is joy on the other side of this sorrow, strength on the other side of this struggle, and peace on the other side of this storm. What feels like the end may just be the beginning of a miracle. God turns pain into hope. What seems unbearable today can become the very thing that shows you His power tomorrow. Hold on to Him. Trust Him. He will not waste your pain.